Swati, what is the basic monthly salary one can expect in Japan once they start working?
Basic monthly salary for a fresh graduate usually varies from 1.8 lakh yen to 2.3 lakh, 2.3 lakh yen. Usually a typical bonus in a Japanese company can be from your one month salary to actually 3 months worth of salary is just your bonus, which is twice a year.
Swati, welcome to our channel.
Thank you so much. I'm extremely delighted that you called me out here, and I would love to help out people if there are students who are looking to work in Japan or study there. So I'm happy to connect in whatever ways it is possible.
Thank you, Swati, for taking out time. I'm sure this video is going to be very helpful for any of you if you are a currently student who would pursue a corporate career in Japan, or you are thinking of learning Japanese language. So Swati, what is the basic monthly salary one can expect in Japan once they start working?
Right. Basic monthly salary for a fresh graduate usually varies from 1.8 lakh yen to 2.3 lakh, 2.3 lakh yen. So that is roughly around 1.5 lakh. Right? Rupees.
That's right.
Yes. And this is your monthly salary. Uske alawa, you have your commute, which is paid by the company. Then if you're working, let's say if you're doing remote work, they give you a remote work allowance, which basically will cover your internet or electricity or those kind of things. There are other companies which provide you a whole setup for working at home if you are, which includes
That's great.
They do. Many companies also offer you a different phone, a different laptop, everything, so that you can keep the company work and personal life separate.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So bonuses are they also component apart from HRA? So we just heard that a monthly salary can range between 1.8
lakh into
right. So approximately 1.5 lakh rupees is
Yes,
what you
yes,
can
yes.
expect monthly. But there are other components that you get. There are the perks. For example, there is housing allowance.
It depends on the company. Many major companies, yes, they do give housing allowance depending if you have a dependent on you or if you don't have it. So that can vary actually from 20,000 yen to 40,000 yen.
Oh, that's not bad
Yeah,
at all.
not bad.
That's a
Yeah.
decent amount.
Yes.
So you get a housing allowance in some companies.
Yes, and then some companies also provide a whole apartment complexes where you can stay, which is nearby to the companies. And like you mentioned, the bonus part. So that is also actually a huge attractive feature of Japanese companies, because when you are starting in the first 18 years, of course you'll not get the whole thing. But usually a typical bonus in a Japanese company can be from your one month salary to actually 3 months worth of salary is just your bonus, which is twice a year.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So 3 months, 6 months salary almost you get
As
bonus.
Yes. But once again, this does not start from your first year. You gradually, as you grow into the role, that's when you. Yeah.
Could you share some any of the work culture or norms that foreigners would find very surprising in Japan?
Yes. So I think for culture that we can find surprising in Japan is, firstly, I think we touched briefly that no matter what place you have graduated from, there is always a chance that you can grow into a different industry. For example, as in India, if you're learning language, there are only a few options that maybe you teach or you do interpretation or you do translation. But in Japan, you can actually get into an industry. So for example, my graduation is in life sciences, but currently I do software training for manufacturing industry. And all of the training, it has been on-job training. And this is not a career that I could have imagined at my in India at least. So that kind of flexibility, that's the actual global landscape where you can design your life. So that's one thing. Then another thing is that the Japanese people, I think you must have all felt, they really value the process. They want the result, but they will not be happy with just the result. They want to see the whole process of how you did, how much time you have spent. They need to see that. So that is absolutely different from how we get things done here. Because we focus
on result.
Yeah.
हो जाएगा.
दे दें.
That's right. So we always, for us the focus is to get the job done.
Yeah.
I think in Japan it's about getting the job done as well as the process and getting the job perfectly done.
Yeah, and that is where quality comes from.
Yeah.
And that is visible in all of services or products that Japan has, because that's how they do everything so minutely and in detail.
Yeah.
That's their concept of perfection.
That's right. So in their processes, what surprises me is that usually it is very easy to trace back a problem to a particular person.
Right.
In India, let's say you're working on a project and there is a mistake. It's impossible to find who did what and where that originated from. And there is a lot of blame game that happens, passing the buck around. No, I didn't do it, he said that, etc. etc.
Japan, you owe the mistake and then you're like, okay, moving forward.
Yes. And
you have to owe the mistake as well.
You have to owe it, and yes, and also it's easy to identify because they are so process oriented. Everybody has documented each and every step, so it's easy to go back and check who is the one making all the problems.
Yes.
It can be much easier to resolve an issue.
That's how much the every person's task or it's divided so clearly.
Right.
That what task, what person is doing what task by what time, and everything is just so mechanical and calculated, which is also a good thing.
It is meticulous.
It is meticulous. Yes.
That's correct. So it always surprises me, and I'm always amazed at their perfection of their systems, processes, and I think all of them, and it comes very naturally to all Japanese. In India, everyone is very different in our approach.
We value individuality.
Right.
In the sense that if we have 10 people and all of us are encouraged to give our own opinions on a topic. In Japan, if there are 10 people, first person will say one opinion and 9 will follow. Right. So there are pros and cons. So that is really reflected. So these are good things that meticulously things are done, and the quality stuff in this. But on the other hand, you also have long working hours. That's not a myth.
Right.
You have to do that, and then there are nomikai. So you go with after office hours, you go to the drinking parties where you actually connect with people. Because when you are in the office, you cannot just in
Japan that's not done. So you have to find time after work hours to do that. So process, it really helps them do their everyday tasks better. I want to give you an example. For example, in India, let's say you lose your way on a metro station.
Correct.
And you go to any station master to ask, what is the route? How do I get to from point A to point B? Right? You ask them.
Yes.
Trust me, the answer will vary from person to person.
But I think that
not just the route, the way they handle the query. So some of them, most of them will just randomly tell you go straight and then there will be a signal, go left from there, right? It will all be verbal and very arbitrary, I would say, But in Japan, no matter where you are, which station I'm at, it can be a very rural area also. But the standard procedure would be that the station master would take out his iPad. He would show it in the map, they will enlarge the map. They will point it out that, this is the route, this is how you go. And then he will take a print out. and he will mark it on the paper and give it to you.
Yeah, sometimes they already have like printed out
Printed
copies
out
and
copies.
they'll just hand it over to you,
Yeah.
and when you take the exit, return it to the.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even that is done. But if you are going to a specific hotel, then in that case they will look for it. They will take a printout and hand it over to you. I mean, and this will be followed by each person. There is no exception to the rule. So I think that way the country, that's how they have achieved such great standards of safety
Yeah.
and discipline.
Yeah.
It's impossible to do it without such process.
Yes, exactly, and like even trust when you're asking somebody for directions, like
That's
people in India, they will never admit they don't know the way.
That's true. Yeah.
They'll tell you something. They'll be like, "यहाँ जा तो सही." Yeah. People in Japan, they are like
I don't know. Yeah. But that's our general nature. Like, not knowing something is so.
कैसे हो सकता है?
Hurts our ego so much.
तो जाके तो देख.
You will find it there. हम बनवा देंगे.
अरे वही था पिछले हफ्ते.
Yeah, so it's endless. That's correct. Swati, I would like to understand how are the visa requirements and any specific visas. Is it really easy to find working visa in Japan and then get a final PR?
Right. So the visa requirements, they will actually really depend on the profile that you have. For some roles, the companies are happy to sponsor a visa for you. For other roles, like the companies will say that you have to get a visa by yourself. We'll just supply you the documents, but all the submission and stuff that you have to get done by yourself. And then in other cases, the companies only look for people who already have a working visa.
Right.
So that being said, of course, if you're applying for a popular field and they know that the candidate has what it takes to be there, so what I've seen in my experiences that the companies are happy to sponsor your working visa as well.
Thank you, Swati. Thank you for coming here. It was great having you.
Seriously, thank you so much.
It's always so nice to meet you and share these.
Absolutely, yeah. It's always a pleasure.